Hey everyone, welcome to a new episode of the Red Devils Corner Kick podcast, a fan podcast dedicated to Manchester United Football Club. As always, like, subscribe, follow, whether you're listening to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and watching on YouTube. And don't forget to follow on social media, whether it's on Instagram, TikTok, or X. It is Saturday. We do have a men's FA Cup game tomorrow, and we just had the women play this morning. This episode is going to kind of be a combined episode. I do apologize. I know when I talked about my episode this morning, which was very early this morning, we were going to have an episode just about the women's game and then the men's squad later tonight. Circumstances have changed, to say the least. I was not able to watch the game this morning. I had to listen to it through the Manchester United app. It wasn't available on YouTube through the Barclays Women's Sports channel. It wasn't available, as well as in Canada, Sportsnet does usually play Women's Super League, but due to the FA Cup for the men's league, unfortunately, that's been going on all weekend. So we have matches going on throughout the day. And then it's the same thing for tomorrow. So unfortunately, I was not able to watch Man United draw against Arsenal today. So I did listen to it through the app, through the radio. Overall, from what I was listening to, because again, it's hard to judge when it's someone, when you're not being able to see it, you have someone dictating it. And it's from what I was listening to, the United had their chances in the first half. They sounded like they were moving the ball well. But it looks like Arsenal was taking it, was the main dominating team overall. They were playing at the Emirates. So there was a difficulty there. Riviere did take a yellow in near the end of the first half. And then she ended up getting her second yellow in the second half, which we made them go down to 10 players. Listen, I know fans have sometimes, how do I describe it? Critiqued Skinner's judgment, but when we're in this situation here with a player on a yellow, and I know it's Riviere and I know how talented she is, but I know she can also play physical and as well, and Tulis Joy's got a yellow too as well from what I saw. But realistically, you may have to make that substitution earlier. You may not suspect them to go for yellow. You expect the player to be a little bit more cautious, but there's still that moment of where they could still sustain that red. Listen, at the end of the day, they still got the draw, United, but we didn't win. We got 1 point. They were able to secure an additional point. So we're still outside that top three. And we definitely need to bounce back. We do face Arsenal again in a week. We do have Burnley coming up for another match. So Riviere is going to be, she should be out, I believe. Let me just pull up United's schedule for this. Just give me a moment here. Fixtures we drew today. So we have Women's FA Cup against Burnley and then Arsenal Super League. So potentially we won't have Riviere for the next match. She would be suspended. And then Arsenal, she would be back again for Arsenal next week. So that's difficult, to say the least. The one thing too is, again, this was this was a Super League. Next week is the League Cup. That's the semifinals against Arsenal. But again, the FA Cup as well. So we have 2 domestic tournaments this week. So Jade will be rested for the following week's match, which is good. But when we have another domestic tournament, but we do have the depth. But again, Gabby George is out. She's out with injury. But the substitutions did come on. From what I was hearing, the substitutions did well. Just unfortunate that when you're down to 10 players, it does change everything. Uwojo did come on. Obviously, when she came on just before we go down to 10, she comes off. Lundqvist does come on, so that's a short play. Unfortunately, like I can only again, audio, I will have to wait for the highlights to come out. I know YouTube is usually good on posting the full game under the women's league, so I'll be waiting for that to do that. So when I get an opportunity to fully watch, I will release my player ratings. So there will be no player ratings today, unfortunately. So we'll take a look at that. But again, we can look at it as a draw. We look at it as a clean sheet, a point. We didn't lose all three, but we definitely lost two. But again, they were able to hold on. Arsenal played well. They were the dominating team, to say the least. And I can't give much more on that, especially when you're listening to an audio of the game. Once it comes back, I'll give a better update on the Arsenal game. I will. It's just unfortunate that I wasn't able to watch it. And it sucks because I was looking forward to it. And I know with the FA Cup going on today for the men, as well as YouTube didn't stream it. It wasn't available. I did try to see if there was anything going on with through Arsenal to see if they can do so anything or any streams. Unfortunately, I was out of luck. Unfortunately, on my end, where we are, it was limitations. So obviously here I am in North America, Canada, so it can be difficult. Nothing against Sportsnet. Listen, you're playing the FA Cup. There was games going on today. I believe Aston Villa and Tottenham are going on. So unfortunately, no women's game. So I wasn't able to watch it. It wasn't available for me to watch. Even when I tried through the Sportsnet app, it didn't look like I was able to find anything either, which sucks. But if I did miss something, that is on me. But I will be trying to watch the highlights and give you guys a better recap of the draw against Arsenal too. So unfortunately, limited an error on me, which again sucks because I can't give you guys more of an update in my review and my opinion on how the match went as well. So that being said, this will be a combination episode. Again, I'm going to move on to the men's squad, just because again we have a lot of stuff going on, ex-players talking, as well as I'm going to preview the Brighton match. We have an FA Cup match tomorrow as well, so I'll be discussing that too. But let's catch up on the men's squad. Okay, as you know, it has been, how do we say this, a long week for Manchester United men's squad. We had our first match with Darren Fletcher. Did do my post game on that. He's going to be managing his second game, and so on and so forth. Listen, first I'm going to say is, if you haven't been listening or checking posts on X, TikTok, or Instagram, you are noticing that the posts about what the 1958 are doing. They have organized a protest, which is happening on February 1st in the Fulham match. So they will be protesting the Glazers, Ineos, the ownership model, with everything that's been going on with that, including the sacking of Ruben Amorim. I almost said Eric Ten Hag. I caught myself and said Aaron. It was Ruben Amorim as well. So they will be doing that. So please keep an eye on that. I have been reposting stuff from the 58. And I made and I'll be honest with you, when the season started, I was one of those just to see how it was going to progress. It had nothing to do with them signing Baliba. It was just, they were looking at the build, trying to get everything going, trying to start the new phase. You had Sir Jim talking about 3 years of Ruben Amorim. January comes, he's sacked because of Amorim's comments. You're finding things out from behind the scenes of how things went with him and Wilcox. Listen, at the end of the day, we know this is a screw up by Wilcox, Barada, and Sir Jim. That's what it is. In the end, they got called out. We're finding out things that sounds like they're interfering more than they should have, and things went the way it was. They knew the style of play. They agreed to the style of play. They let him go and all that and so forth. Listen, Dan Ashworth was let go because he told them how things were going to be done. They took it that the wrong way and sacked him. They brought in Amram. Amram had a style of play. He needed to do stuff. Like, in the end, this is all on Wilcox, Barada, and Sir Jim. Amram, I believe, was the right guy to start building us this. He was building a foundation. That takes time. I know people want results. United fans want things now. But unfortunately, and I've had this discussion before, there's members of this fan base, fan channels included, that don't have the patience, that expect things done now. They do. They expect everything to be happening now. Even though they were told that we were going to be shit and that we would not win the league or anything, they knew. They still expected Premier League performance. They still expected us to act like we were the 99 Devils, but we weren't. We weren't doing that. The treble winners, they were nothing like that. The squad was nothing like that. The squad was getting behind the manager. They finally had a manager that was confirmed that was going to be there for 3 years. You've seen the players' respect that has been given. You saw what Ahmad has said about the relationship that he had with Amram. Now he's coming, like, Ahmad's still out with Ivory Coast. Nazraoui is going to be out even longer because Morocco beat Cameroon. So we're going to have Brian and Mbeumo back for the derby. Yes, chances are we may have Ivory Coast. We may have Ahmad coming back too. Who knows? But Morocco is onwards to the semifinal. But so on and so forth. Looking at it today, we had players that were loyal to him. We had players that were willing to play for him. We had players that were being disciplined and understanding. Yes, there was fan bases about. There was members of the fan base out there discussing about Kobe Mainu, and I've made my expressions about Kobe Mainu too. But there are things going on at this club that just were not working out. They weren't. And there was issues going on with that as well. So obviously there's a mix-up, but again, going back to it, the 50 are going to be protesting. Please pay attention to that. Obviously, the fan base is getting behind it, but please understand this, ladies and gentlemen. With everything going on, don't let, like, us bringing an ex-manager in, a former player, all this stuff, get you twisted of what the agenda is. There are fan bases out there. There are fan channels, accounts, everything supporting what they're doing to neglect what's been going on. We can't let that happen. We can't. We cannot continue to let that happen. You need to understand that this isn't going to change. In interim, planning for another guy. Listen, if they want a manager, they're going to have to get someone who is a puppet. That's what it is. It's a yes person. And the list that ex-players are putting, I saw Ancelotti there. I saw Tuchel. I seen Nagelsmann going to be there. Luis Enrique. People are throwing around Zinedine Zidane. Eddie Howe, there's talks about that. But, like, Ancelotti is not a guy who's going to be like, yeah, I'm not going to be doing what you say. Luis Enrique is not going to be doing what he says. He's going to be wanting to set things up. There's talks of Glasner coming from Crystal Palace. He may be a yes guy. You may go with Kieran McKinnon. He might be a yes guy. But if you're going to go for a manager, unfortunately, the manager is going to be a puppet. That's what it is. The manager is a puppet. You're not even the manager. You're going to be called, air quoted, a coach. So you don't even get anything. You're just going to be told what to do and boom, go out and play and yada, yada, yada. You'll be judging your results. I'm sorry to say, but that model is not going to work. That model failed. Amram fought back, ladies and gentlemen, and that's what was done. I knew the results were going to be the greatest. When I did my preview, I've mentioned it before in previous episodes, we were going to be battling just to be in the second half, in that top half of 10. I mentioned the clubs who were going to be with us. Some of them are there, some aren't. But we were going to have a battle there. And right now we were sitting in 6, ladies and gentlemen. We were sitting in 6. And then we were going to be facing Burnley. And say what you will, nothing against Fletcher. But chances are, with Ruben there, with Bruno returning, as well as Mason Mount, you were definitely going to see, you probably would have seen Kobe potentially. Like, I don't think we'll move away from Kobe. But if Kobe was back, but we're seeing here, like things probably would have changed for Ruben under that. You would have. We probably would have seen change. We would have seen something there, but realistically, if we were going to do his 3-4-3, you would have seen Bruno at the 10 either way, I believe. Realistically, I think Bruno was going to be at the 10 if he was healthy and good to go. You would have had those two guys in the middle. If Kobe was good to go, he would have been coming out as a sub, so on and so forth. The midfield issue was always going to be there. It didn't matter what the formation was. It didn't matter about the 4-2-3-1. It didn't matter about that. It didn't matter about anything. The matter was the midfield issue. Bruno wouldn't have been in that midfield. He probably would have been at a 10 with Ruben, and he would have done the 3-4-3 to continue on to fight. And chances are, I'm saying this to be respectful, and nothing against Darren Fletcher. Chances are we win. Chances are we probably win against Burnley. Nothing against Burnley, whatever, but things do change when you have the manager and things are different. To say the least, there would have been a difference. So we'll leave that there for you to judge. Listen, the ex-players, Roy Keane talking about Sir Alex, his comments, I'm 100% in agreement with what he was saying. Nothing against the history of what Sir Alex Ferguson has done for this club. We know it, and I've stuck by for what, when I talk about it as a reference of what he had to build, what he went through to get everything going. But again, and I've mentioned it before, ex-players who have influence at the club may put it into effect and cause more danger than actually being helpful. He's made his reference about Darren Fletcher being a future manager. He's talked about former players that he's But again, we're still in this rut. We shouldn't be trying to, I never believed Ruben Amorim was going to be the next Sir Alex Ferguson, but he was definitely going to be the next manager to build us a future. He's not looking for the next Sir Alex. We're looking at the next manager that can build an environment, build a foundation to a future to get Manchester United back to that situation. Someone who build the foundation, get the players going. Amorim didn't dislike the academy, but he knew what the academy was. Darren Fletcher, no offense, in his press conference, from what I'm hearing and people reposting, it sounds scripted and basically what the Glazers want to put out and have someone say that. Seriously, and nothing Glazers, but it's sounding like something that's being written. The false, I'm reading in between the lines here. From when I'm watching that and I saw that, I was like, okay, everyone's talking about the academy. Let's get our managers to talk about how the history of the club and all that stuff. Listen, there was situations there. There was. And listen, the academy was there. Amorim just wanted to protect those academy players. He will bring them on, but he has been honest about the way the society is today. The way they are. The way people are talking about Shea Lacey because he hit a fucking crossbar is blowing my mind. It is. He has the ethics. But the one thing that's going to feed into his head, because people talk about him being like Phil Foden. Okay, great. He may have the same style, but don't let that get to his head. He hit a crossbar, he hit a movement, boom. You can talk about what he did at Aston Villa, great. But at the end of the day, he may show that sign, but he has to still come on as a depth piece. He can't be starting. And there are people who have talked about starting for games and then coming on for games, how there is a difference. And there is a big difference. Maybe they entertain the start tomorrow, maybe, for an FA Cup. But realistically, he should be coming on tomorrow. He should just be coming on. Same, again, if there's an opportunity against Arsenal, Manchester, future games, because I know those are our next two. We have City in a week, and then we have Arsenal the week after. But realistically, Ruben was protecting the youth because, again, he saw what the fan base was like. He did. We knew what Cheetah was. We knew how talented he was. He came in. He didn't change games. He was there in games, and you saw some positivity, but he was young. Still raw. Shea Lacey, again, talented, can move the ball. Young, still raw. Montanto, Fredrickson, young, still need time. Aiden Heaven is young, still needs time, but he is progressing. You're seeing what he is doing. He has been ready to be in those roles. He was starting for games last year and excelling in that. And he's done well, especially with the pressure. When you're in that back, the way the D has been, and when you wear that badge, the pressure is going to mount. But the academy has always been there. He has been starting, he has placed academy players in games. The problem is we cannot get into a situation. Look what's happening with Kobe Manu right now. He had a breakout year under Ten Hag. Yes, he went to the Euros, he excelled well, so on and so forth. He got himself injured, couldn't play for Ten Hag for a few months, came back, wasn't fully there. Ten Hag is sacked. And then you have Ruben Amorim coming in. Again, actually, sorry. No, the injury happened after Ten Hag. So you have him coming back, is exhausted, the amount of time, not himself, but still people are expecting him to start. He was starting and he was struggling. He wasn't playing the best. He got himself injured when Amorim came in, got himself in, trying to find places. Yes, he made some moments, but he hasn't taken control when he's gone into games. We gave him the opportunity to start against Grimsby. He did not start well. We had to bring on those substitutions. Bruno had to come in, and we ended up getting 2 goals back to force the draw and go into penalties. We also had issues where even Burnley, he wasn't the best. Games that he has come on. And yes, I'm well aware of the conspiracy of that injury. But, and again, and I mentioned it before, Ruben was trying to manage him and protect him and get him right. There is a sense of entitlement when you are at that position for what you've gone through. We get it. But there's also a thing called taking a step back and developing. You had to. This is nothing against Ten Hag and building up that youth, but that youth became entitled, expecting to be great things. Got to the point where Garnacho is now sold. I don't want Kobe to be sold on that through that same reason, but he has to be developed. He didn't come into Burnley and change the game. He didn't do what he did to Wolves to help us win it. He didn't do any of that. He didn't do anything that was there to help us win a game. The manager was trying to develop him, protect him. Unfortunately, things have gone wrong for him, and he may be a player that has to go. And I know fans don't want to hear that, but he may have to go. So, to say the least, it's not something I wanted to talk about and all that stuff. But again, we are at a situation where United, they're in a mess, to say the least. The way this whole situation has gone this week, and from what we're hearing from more reports throughout the season, it has become the nicest way to put it, I think the words would be a fucking disaster. To say that it's a fucking disaster. So, but I will leave it there for that segment. More to come as the game goes on. But realistically, United's next manager, whether it's an interim or whatever, is going to be a puppet. It wouldn't somehow magically shock me if Darren Fletcher just ended up being the interim for the rest of the year if they can find someone. But again, you have Darren Fletcher, you have Michael Carrick, and Ollie, all 3 ex-players. They're trying to, again, in Darren Fletcher's press conference, it felt he had something. I felt Sir Jim Wilcox or Barada, the Glazers, just through that press conference from what I've been reading. The academy was never in doubt under Ruben. It was never in doubt under Ten Hag. But to say the least, you want to make sure that those kids are developed correctly. Some of them, they had to be developed correctly. You wanted to protect them. Because again, this fan base will chew them out faster. If Shea Lacey started tomorrow, did nothing, and we lose 3-0, there will be a chunk of the fan base going after Shea Lacey, saying he's done nothing. He didn't win us anything. He didn't move it, but that manager was trying to protect him because this fan base will turn on anyone. It's the truth. It will. Any player, anyone who's just signed or been here, we saw it with Xerxes, Rasmus. We've seen it with Ugarte. We've seen it with, right now, Kobe, some of the fan base. Comments on, like, again, you go on a stint, you're not playing well, the whole squad will, or the fan base will turn on you. And that's what Ruben Amram was trying to protect with those young guys. It's great that the Fletcher boys are potentially could be playing tomorrow, but you'll see comments if they're not playing well. You see what's going on. So, unfortunately, will there be a bounce tomorrow? Will there be a win? I can't say that. I'm going for the win. I am. But let's talk about it. Let's move on to the preview against Brighton. Okay, this is our second go around against Brighton. Obviously, we played them earlier on, beating them 4-2, but this is an FA Cup. We may not see the full roster play. We may not see our full starting 11, but in my opinion, I would start the 11 because we have our only game this week because we're not back until, well, we did play earlier this week, but we're not back until next Saturday. So we have a lot of teams are playing today. Tomorrow's going to be our extra day off. Some teams like Newcastle, Chelsea, Man City may be reducing who they're playing today because there are League Cup semifinals. The first legs are going on this week. So you have teams playing differently in that. But listen, tomorrow we have to be able to close out the game. Tomorrow is not going to be like the game that it was when we beat them 4-2. Let's say that to be loose. And Mbuemo is not back until next week. As much as we have Bruno, Mount, Mainu back, okay, we have depth pieces. We still need to look at what's going on. The midfield is trash. So I don't know if Darren Fletcher's going to bench Casemiro, Ugarte, and put in one of the Fletchers. Shea Lacey could potentially start. They could potentially do a 3-4-3. For all we know, if they did a 3-4-3, then potentially Shea Lacey starting, or if they do a 3-3 or 4-3-3, are we going to see Shea Lacey there instead of Dorgu, or are they going to keep it the same as it was against Burnley? And chances are it's probably going to be the same. It will be. Because again, we don't have a game until next week. And to be fair, you may want to give some players rest, but you don't want to give them too much rest because again, there's going to be rust there. There's going to be opportunities but one of them is not going to be starting next week. Brian Mbuemo is back later this week. We may have a mod back this week. So you're going to want to get those players in now to get playing time because next week you have two players that are going to be rested and rejuvenated, ready to go, potentially. We know one will be there. Brian Mbuemo will be there. He will be. So we know he'll be starting, which means something like Dorgu will not be starting there, which means you're going to have to look to find a place for Dorgu. And then you're going to have the front three of Sesko and Cunha, and then Bruno with them as well. With, again, if Mainu is 100%, you might be seeing Casemiro or Ugarte gone. So there's definitely going to be some changes. So today is going to be the last day where you can have some of those players that you did against Burnley, but there's going to be change next week. There is. Ivory Coast, I believe, is going today. I believe they're going today. Yep. Let's just check. AFCON. Where is it? African Cup of Nations. Yeah, they're playing at 2 p.m. today against Egypt. So, right, yeah. They're playing Egypt at 2 o'clock. So potentially we may be finding out that Ivory Coast or Ahmad will be back. Potentially. We find out today. It's 50-50. He's either there or not. But realistically, there's going to be changes next week when we play City. And you need to make sure everyone's all hands on deck when we play City next week. So, but yeah, for today, my lineup and everything that I had going on, I'm going to be keeping it the same. And I'm just going to pull up my lineup right now. So just give me a moment here. It's always, Slowly getting there. I do apologize for the wait. Just get everything here for Brighton. Got all my predictions. As always, I'm going for the win. I hope for us to move through the next round of the FA Cup. So let's just get everything going. So I have that saved. So again, my lineup. So we have Semi Lemens, Delo, Martinez, Heaven, Shaw, Casemiro. I have Mainu starting. I'm going to say Mainu is fit to go to start. He'll be replacing Ugarte. And then we have Dorgu, Bruno, Cunha, and Sesko starting up front. That's what I have here. So again, Lemens, Delo, Martinez, Heaven, Shaw, Casemiro, Mainu, Dorgu, Fernandes, Cunha, and Sesko as well. So listen, I'm going to be saying Mainu starts. One of them has, like Casemiro, one of them has to go unless we're going to a 4-3-3, which again, you can't take Bruno off. Cunha has to be on there, so does Sesko, unless Fletcher decides to do a magical false nine, which I don't think will happen unless you're going to push Bruno to the mid, to say the least. But I think it's going to be similar to what he did on Tuesday. But I think swapping out Ugarte for Dorgu or for Mainu, will be there. Dorgu, who has been playing well on that wing, I think he's done extremely well. Definitely has been one of the most consistent ones. At least since the Newcastle, he's been our most consistent player for all the games. So he's been playing well. So why remove him? Which is going to be tough next week when Mbeumo comes back. How are they going to do those adjustments, especially when you're playing a big match against City? Whoever the manager is, because potentially this is Darren Fletcher's last match as the manager, because the interim may be in soon. We know it's going to be between Carrick or Ollie. But please, I'll talk about that after. I'll make my comment again after. But yeah, like they have to keep the ball, they have to move in. But again, protecting that midfield has to be there. It has to be. They have to control it. They have to move. They have to be able to stabilize it. I don't care that we won 4-2 last game. Just like with Wolves, Burnley, and all that. I don't care that we've won the last game. All I care about is what they do this game. That last game doesn't get you a guarantee for today. It doesn't. So we may lose tomorrow. I'm not saying we're going to, but I'm saying is we can't go into this mentality of, well, we kicked their butt last time. We had Ahmad in Mbeumo. We even had Mazraoui in the rotation. We had opportunities there. We did. Actually, Aiden Heaven was there. Aiden Heaven assisted Brian Mbeumo's goal. So we can't have the mentality going into it. They have to control the passes. They have to move in. They have to fucking finish. As always, like I say, consistency, discipline, and finish. Like, that's the problem. They consistently been tying. Discipline, no, because they've been letting in goals, and they haven't been finishing because last week we had 10 shots on target, though some of the shots just went directly to the keeper, and then you have 30 shots attempts. Cool. Obviously, finish didn't work. Consistency, discipline, finish. That's the story that I've been pushing for this men's squad, even for the women's squad too. They've consistently been tying. They haven't been disciplined enough because they're letting in goals and letting teams come through, and they can't finish a shot. Even if they're standing in the net holding the ball, the keeper will somehow find a way to save it. To say the least, yeah. So there's a lot of pressure going into tomorrow's game. And if this board, and I air quote board, I'm sorry you can't see me do it. They want European football. They should have kept the last manager. But there's a struggle there because, again, we go out tomorrow. We have to fight through the table. And the way things are going right now with Manchester United, there's a risk that that's going to be shit and gone. So this squad has pressure tomorrow. Darren Fletcher has pressure tomorrow of trying to secure and get an opportunity for Europe, which we don't know. Again, I'm hoping for a win. I hope going on to the next round. I always say that. But this is the big game. Right now, this is our game of the year. I will say it. The game of the year right now is Brighton because, again, we're out. We lose an opportunity at Europe, which means another X for the great Ineos Wilcox brought aboard. A nice big fat X. Another strike. Way to go. So, like, again, these players have to show up. But sometimes when the pressure is on these players, they don't. They don't show up. They don't. Like, again, yeah, they don't. So, I am sorry for being rude, but this is a big game tomorrow. It is. Like, in the end, I'm sorry for emphasizing now at the end, but it's a big fucking game tomorrow. Ineos and them have basically said Europe is the goal. Obviously, the League Cup is no longer there because we lost that in Grimsby. There's the FA Cup tomorrow, which we have to win to go on to the next. If we don't, there's no opportunity to get into Europa if we're out of the FA Cup. If we're out tomorrow, then we have to try and go through the league. And I've made my notice about that, about the teams that we have to face. So, yeah, that's what it is. That's where we are right now. But unfortunately, yeah, these players have to show up tomorrow. I would love a blowout by United. Just love for what they did, what City did today. I would love United to do, score 10 goals and just win big and just boom, done. I'll be happy with that single moment because I know that means we live on to try and get into Europe for next year. But they have to win tomorrow. They have to win. Again, like I said, this is the biggest game of the year for Manchester United. And it is the 11th. It will be the 11th of January when that game kicks off. Yeah. So, yeah. So yeah, I'll start with my closing arguments. Not closing arguments. My closing for the pod. Listen, again, I do apologize for not giving a proper post-game recap of the women's game against Arsenal. It's tough. Hopefully soon I will see the updates and everything as well. I tried to search. That's why it was a little bit delayed with the review. So that's why I'm doing a combined episode of the pod. Please support the protest. I wish that you can do the protest tomorrow and you can boycott the FA Cup as well. It's up to you. At the end of the day, we know the ownership doesn't care. But don't let everything that's been everything that's been spun this week change your perspective. Don't. Ineos knew what was going on. They sabotaged it. Glazers knew what was going on. They don't care. It is time to get on board and fix everything and push forth the opportunity to get this ownership, no confidence and everything. Like, support the 58. Support what they're doing. So, then for the men's squad, listen, consistency, discipline, and finish. It's the biggest game of the year tomorrow. Europe is on the line, and they need that. We're going to be struggling with the Prem to try and even fight and get close to Europe. So we have to try and maintain ourselves in the FA Cup. So make sure you keep an eye on that as well. So that's all I'll say. So I'll talk to you guys tomorrow after the Brighton United match. Then after that, back Tuesday as well. Catching up on United, everything, women's squad too, because I believe we have a game. We have a game on the 15th. Burnley's in the middle of the week, and then Arsenal after that. So keep an eye on that, and then I'll do those post games and get everything ready as well. So, and then I'll post my ratings for the women's squad once I see the full highlights, because again, it's hard to give a proper rating when you don't see the game, but you're listening to it being commentated as well. So, yeah. But yeah, enjoy the rest of your Saturday. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy the match tomorrow as well. We got to pull out a win. We have to secure Europe. So, yeah, enjoy the rest of the weekend. Enjoy the match. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. This is the Red Devils Corner Kick podcast. Glory, glory, Man United. And don't forget, like, subscribe, follow, whether you're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or YouTube, and Instagram, TikTok, and X as well. Once again, this is the Red Devils Corner Kick podcast. Glory, glory, Man United.